I'm Jennifer Zmuda. I am the owner and photographer for Jennifer Zmuda Photography, and I have Karen Wing here with me, former professional dancer, and we're talking about all things audition, all of our fun stories ourselves about audition process, and I'm dropping a lot of really awesome tools and tips on how to have success when it comes to this audition season that's coming up. So hope you enjoy this. Let's talk about you first, just so people know you. Everybody knows you.
Oh. Well,
the world knows you. You were top 25 to watch on Dance Magazine's thing, right? When was that?
I was not top 25 to watch, but I was one of the stars of the corps, I think is what they called it, or something. That was my second season with Ballet Met. First season? Second. It must have been my second season.
Time has no meaning to me because I'm like, it just happened.
It was before COVID. It was a long time ago.
It was before COVID.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. We'll date everything before COVID,
yeah,
COVID, and post-COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, a few years ago. Yeah. No, that was pretty wild. I think Steve Staccato had seen me perform. I think he had seen me perform for a season.
Yeah.
And then wrote about me. Okay. It must have been that. But yeah, well, that was like, I just remember they told me that was happening. I was like, what? Like,
me?
People noticed me on stage. And this, I don't know. I always think that was it always touched me when people did see me in the corps. And I mean, I think that next year I started to have more soloist roles and things. But
you were still pretty young when you came into Ballet Met, though, right? So you went to college, UC Irvine, after dancing in Petaluma.
Yes.
And then you got the dance degree and you got the dance administration?
Yeah, so I got a BFA in dance performance, and then I minored in business management.
Was that 4 years or 3 years?
4 years.
4 whole years. Mm-hmm. So then you started at Sac Ballet as a second company or full company?
I was an apprentice in the company, which similar to here, they didn't have any distinction between if you're an apprentice, you can't perform certain roles. So I got used and everything. But fun fact, I was only hired for 3 months at first, and I got hired a week before the season started.
Wow.
But then they kept extending my contract for the rest of the season.
I hate that in general, that it's so unpredictable. How are you supposed to plan your life if you don't know what's going to happen next? And if you have to move or not move?
I mean, it was just a wild ride, graduating college, and I didn't have a job yet, and
student loans are due.
Yeah. So things were I was auditioning that whole summer after I graduated college still, and just fingers crossed I'll get a job. And I didn't have a job lined up, so I just started emailing. I moved back at that point to my parents' house. They live in Northern California, and about an hour north of San Francisco. So I just started emailing any company or choreographer in the Bay Area that I thought maybe there was a chance I could come understudy and just be in the room, So I reached out to a whole bunch of people. A couple of people did let me come take, some of the smaller companies in SF let me come take class, or and respectfully, I appreciated this, that most of them were we can't pay you anything, we have we're full, you can come, but they felt weird about it, and at the time I was just let me be in the room, because I can't pay at this point to continue dancing. I can't pay to take class, but there's no way for me to keep doing this unless I pay at this point.
Yeah.
So it's just in this limbo period of I'm not a student, but I'm not a professional yet, and I was actually about to sign up to work on a cruise ship.
Nice.
Because my friend in college dragged me to a Royal Caribbean audition, which was a very foreign concept to me, because I'd only ever done ballet company auditions. I was so out of my element. But I guess whatever, 6 months later they called me, wanted to have I had a Zoom interview. Which I didn't even, Zoom was a thing. Now a Zoom is just a thing, but back then it was
what was it even called back then? There wasn't, the company Zoom didn't exist. It was something else. Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
AOL. I don't know.
Probably. It was dial up. I don't know. But no, it was some kind of video conference we had. And they interviewed me, and they were I was waiting basically for them to send me my contract. was going to go on some ship. And then I was still like frantically sending these emails to everybody. And Sac Ballet wrote back like literally in, I think it was like a week and a half between when I had my Zoom or not Zoom meeting and when I got the contract from them. And Sac Ballet wrote back and were like, we have a dancer that's out, you know, had an injury, had surgery. We thought she'd be back, but she's not yet. So we could hire you as an apprentice through Nutcracker. And I was like, yes, please.
Please, yes.
Please. And I moved there within like days and started.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And it was Ron Cunningham, the artistic director at the time.
Yeah, and Kareen.
And Kareen, yeah. Wow. And so how long did you stay at Sac Ballet for?
I was only there one season.
Okay.
And kind of because of that, like all the unknowns of like we love you, but you know, we just don't know what's going to happen yet this season. And then like, you know, I got like, I think most dance companies have evaluations around Nutcracker time. So I was like waiting, and then they did extend me through, I think March. And then they always ended their season with like their dancer choreography, beer and ballet show.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't really a need to keep me on for the rest of the season because, I mean, they could have made it work fine without me, but they ended up extending me. So that was really great. They were very nice to me while I was there. But with all the unknowns, I was like, well, I think I have to go audition. Plus, I just
it's good to be in that habit anyway of just like you always want to expand and see what's out there.
Yeah, and I mean, so I wanted to put myself out there. I wanted to hopefully have options. I also staying in the position I was in long term with student loans kicking in after 6 months or whatever after graduation. It was just not going to be like I would have had to work like a bajillion other jobs like because I was being paid so little.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just the times, and it was what it was what it was. So I was just happy for the opportunity, of course, but
you learned Wonderland while you were at Sac Ballet.
I did, yeah. So we did a lot of great stuff. Like for a company of their size and like budget and everything, I mean, we did so many balancing ballets that year, and we did Wonderland, and they had a new works program. So, I mean,
Sweet.
like Ma Kong came in.
Yeah, I love him.
It was actually, I made like so many connections that year that was really cool to see over the course of my career, like kind of come back around and like see these people again. So it was a great like foundational year for sure. And but yeah, so I learned Wonderland, and I was one thing is they typically didn't have that many shows per production, and so most of the time it was like a one cast scenario with like covers or maybe like 2 principal casts or something. So there wasn't as much I mean, obviously Nutcracker, everyone performed everything.
All of them. Yeah.
I did get a lot of performance opportunities, but like I didn't get to perform Wonderland, but I was the stager really liked me, and he kind of like he told me, he's like, I want to use you in this piece. And you know, which was, I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, yeah. Someone looked at me and like recognized that I was in the room, you know.
Yeah.
No, but so I was just honored to like be learning it and to like get to go into some rehearsals, and you know, he was kind of like, I'm gonna push to get you a show, and it just didn't happen. But like, I mean, I will say Sacramento Ballet rehearses their programs and their dancers, so every cover had like
a real legitimate opportunity to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. You never were going to go on stage not having touched something. So, I mean, that being said, like, I mean, I think in Nutcracker, they offered, or they asked me to cover Rose, and like I had rehearsals. Like, I mean, there was like 3 casts, and then it was like me, and I was like, my name was on the rehearsal schedule. I was like, what? You know, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, I grew a lot because even though I didn't have all the performance opportunities, like I was in the space and I was being coached and worked, and, you know, so that was awesome.
And that part is so important. Like, even if you're just undercast of something, you want to have the chance to actually work on it with your body in the studio with those people and hearing all those notes, because performing adds to it. Sure. But all that work is done in the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got a lot out of that year, I think. And but yeah, so I learned Wonderland, which then coincidentally
which is a beautiful piece.
Yes, it is so beautiful. And no, it wasn't Wonderland. in college I had seen Joffrey perform in Southern California. They performed Age of Innocence, one of Edward's ballets. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time, I think it must have been my senior year. One of the grad students I was friends with, she had been a dancer for a while and had come back to school. So she was like very in the know about things. And I remember her telling me like, oh yeah, Edward Liang is going to be taking over as the artistic director there. So like that would be a great place to audition for, because she's like, I think you'd be really great in Ballet Met. Like they have a really diverse rep. And, she's like, I'm not sure how it'll change under a new director, but just like the current company, I think you'd fit really well. And then she was just like telling me how, well, when an artistic director comes in, they can't really make many changes to the company roster the first year, but potentially there's going to be some change coming, so like keep your eye on it and like go audition. So I remember just being like, oh my gosh, that ballet is so beautiful and his movement style is so just spoke to me, so then fast forward, I'm at Sacramento Ballet. I get to learn Wonderland, another beautiful ballet of his, and then I auditioned for Ballet Met. And it all kind of started clicking together.
Yeah.
So auditioning for Ballet Met, then I got to the point in the audition where we were asked to do some of his choreography.
And you're like, I know it.
And I hear Wonderland music start playing. I'm just like, oh,
yes.
So, it was, some of it, like, I think he ended up taking, like, the solo from the men's trio.
Okay.
And kind of just having, like, he adapted a little bit for the women in point shoes, but, like, we all just did that like, a phrase from it. He didn't take the exact choreography, but he took some, like, of his movement style and partnering from one of the paws, and I think the main paw, and just kind of had us do it in small groups. So it was, like, I mean, by no means did I have the level of understanding of Edward's movement that I have after
direct from
10
him,
years or 9 years of working with him, but having had exposure to it, I mean, you could kind of see the fear in some of the other dancers' eyes, because they're just like, wow. I mean, because it's just not traditional. I mean, there is a basis in traditional partnering, but so much of it is weight sharing and just like this different understanding of partnering than you're taught as a classical ballet dancer. Yeah. So there's always a learning curve in the company when new people come in and haven't done his work before. But I was just like, okay, this is my chance.
And I feel like my first memory of you dancing, you had, in my opinion, a strong base of modern and contemporary movement already. Like I see some dancers come in that it's kind of clear that they've only had classical ballet training, and they're thrown this movement and the fear in their eyes, but also the fear in their bodies. And I feel like when you came into things and I saw you dancing, I didn't see any hesitation or fear in that. It felt comfortable for you just in general.
Yeah. Thanks, college.
I was going to say, from UC Irvine, right? Because like, you got to work with Donald McHale. Did you have Loretta Livingston? I forget.
Did,
yeah. I love
she's
love
amazing.
her.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I had a little, like, what we all have, like, growing up in, so I was taking ballet classes at my home studio. We had some jazz and lyrical and, we had a performance little company too, pre-professional company. So like they would bring in choreographers and like, so I had a little bit of exposure to contemporary ballet, but I mean, I started training in ballet in 7th grade. And so
it's amazing. I did not know that.
Yeah. I had done I had gone to a competition dance studio where I mostly just did jazz, tap, hip hop, acro. Yeah, it was really cute.
You do hip hop.
And we did something called ballet, but
it wasn't
not ballet. Yeah. I mean, it was like, I think at the point at which I had ballet classes, I was taking combo classes. So I don't know if you ever had a combo class where it's like 15 minutes of ballet, which pretty much consists of putting on your ballet shoes, getting in a circle or something, and then you're like, okay, put your tap shoes on. And you're
Great.
Like, oh, okay, that was ballet, right? So I wasn't happy there. I was a very serious child. Go figure. I don't know. But I told my mom I was just like not into the dance classes that I was taking. It just felt like social hour. I didn't feel like I was learning anything. I told her I didn't want to dance anymore. I wanted to do swim team. And she Yeah, because that's what my siblings had done, was like sports and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, maybe I need to do something different. And then my mom took me to the local ballet studios, Nutcracker. And I was just like on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, wait, you can do that? Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So she said, well, I guess I should sign you up for ballet school then.
Nutcracker is the gateway to the ballet world.
It is. It's the magic. It's
yeah.
The magic. But so, yeah, got my foot in the door with them. And then I think it was just like I was right at that age where, you know, like when you're really little, you're just kind of doing your thing. And then you get to that age, like right around middle school, that you're kind of like start to take more classes a week and you get more serious. And like that's kind of when a lot of kids do other things.
Away.
And
yeah.
it's just a huge commitment at that age.
It
so
really is.
I was like hungry and ready, and they saw that, and my teachers just kept giving me, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I pretty much had really only had that kind of ballet with a little bit else. And then when I went to college, I was like, well, every time I went to a summer intensive, I was like the modern girl because I wasn't afraid to like roll on the floor and try. Like, you know, at my ballet studio, I was like the bunhead. And then I went away to a summer program and I was the modern chick, you know, whatever. So I went to college and had this just like inundation of what modern dance really was and is and contemporary. And really, I had great ballet technique classes there at Irvine, but there weren't that many performance opportunities in ballet. So, I mean, Jody Gates was there at the time, so I did get to learn some Forsyth work with her, and she choreographed on the company, or not on the company, on the students.
Well, there was the company though. Like, what was what was Donald McHale's company?
Yeah, so I auditioned and got into Donald McHale's ensemble Etude Ensemble.
Etude, yeah.
And, I mean, I just auditioned for everything when I went to college because
which is like, what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
And I was shocked when I got chosen for that because I was.
Like, this is a typo, right? This is a typo.
Yeah. Well, because you can't audition as a freshman.
Oh yeah.
But you can start auditioning as a sophomore. But like, it was kind of said like typically it's like juniors and seniors in it. And I think I was the only female sophomore. I think I got in, and then a few boys. Male dancers got in. I was like, we were children, right? Yeah. No.
It feels like it, for sure, gosh.
But yeah, so myself, and then I think there were 3 male dancers who were all the same year we got in. And everybody else was older, and it was kind of like a big, you know.
Who were these people?
Yeah. Like, you know, and it was scary.
The chosen ones, right? The people they look at you more because you're like, why are you in here?
Yeah, but
maybe they're not that mad about it, but
yeah, but you would think that they might be. You know? But oh man, I just working for him, Donald McHale was just amazing, and I think the thing that like what I learned from him was just like he always used to talk about there are dancers who do steps, and then there are artists.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to be an artist, you know? And he saw that in the people that he chose to be in his ensemble. And I remember him telling me at one point, he said, I looked at you in the audition, and he's like, even your little hair spoke to me. Which, I mean, anyone who knows me, I always have wispies.
Yes, you do.
So you've edited them out.
I have edited them out many a time.
Many a time. So just, I don't know. You know, I think someone just like, seeing that in you and then nurturing it and coaching it and guiding it and getting to work with him for the 3 years that I did until I graduated. I mean, it just gave me a completely different understanding of dance and artistry. And, you know, I had never done a hinge, like hinges in my life. I mean, I did so many hinges in his rep.
So many, yeah.
But I mean, all that stuff, like, while it seemed like this separate thing that I was doing from, I mean, I knew about contemporary ballet, but, you know, it seemed like, oh, I'm part of this modern ensemble.
Sure.
And I knew it was serving me, but I didn't realize, like, the extent to which it would serve my professional career. You know, and then, like, even at Sac Ballet, I saw it some, but then really in my time at Ballet Met, I mean, the amount of works that we've done that were, you know, basically just modern, you know, I mean, or like really like heavy contemporary work. And like you said, like you can just tell when there's a dancer who's never approached that before.
Scary, yeah.
It is, yeah. So
that disconnection from the ground, like ballet teaches you still have to be anchored, but there still is this like float. And if you don't know how to drop that float and get back down into the ground, it's very obvious and it shows.
So it's like anytime we had a stager come in or something, you know, I was like, oh, I could just, I can let it out now, you know. I've been holding it in for so long.
Yeah.
Up here somewhere. But,
Yeah.
So I think it was Gustavo actually.
I love his movement is so beautiful.
When he came and
he says some weird things in rehearsal, I hear, but we don't need to talk about that.
yeah, but when he came in the first time and he kind of created a piece that was then used as kind of like an audition for Carmen, which was in the following season, which I didn't know that at the time. I just thought he was coming and creating a ballet on us. But
oh yeah, what was that one called? Because that was in the performance space.
Lovely Together, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of 18+1.
Yeah.
Originally.
That was the season before I joined, the first time the company did it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to be in Lovely Together.
Yep.
And that was my first season, actually.
And you got a duet with Jarrett for that one.
And Gabe.
In fact, was it just a trio? Were there other people in that piece?
Yeah, there were other people, but it was like I had like a paw with Gabe, a paw with Jarrett. There was group stuff, but it was like it was pretty heavy, like the three of us.
Yeah,
like, and
those are the only photos I remember that I took were of you and Jarrett and you and Gabe.
Yeah,
interesting.
But that was like our second program of the season or something, you know. And he came in, and it was kind of like this, like because he saw me in his like audition process and selected me. Then all of a sudden, like everybody was like, "Oh, she has this other side to her," you know. And so that was like
you have to have the opportunity to show what you know how to do.
Yeah. So that was like a great chance to show that. And I remember him coming up to me, like maybe it was after the performances or like close to the performances. He's like, "You've done something else," and I'm like,
"You're not from this world."
Yeah, and I'm like, "What?" He's like you're not a ballet dancer. I mean, you are, but like you've done something else. And I'm like I went to college. He's like, that's it. Like I don't. And I was like, well, I mean, you know, and I didn't get into all of it, but I was like, well, I mean, I was in a modern company in college. Yeah, you know, so a student company, but
the caliber of that company, though, I think you know it's under a student facade, but it's. I mean, those dancers are gorgeous and handpicked by Del McHale. Yeah, they're gonna be amazing, right? Yeah. Don't diminish it just because it's a college setting,
right.
You know.
I'm like, we got paid in credits.
You did, yes, okay. You did not get paid with actual money in cash, but yes, yeah.
I mean, so we got to perform at a lot of really cool things too throughout that time. So, yeah. Anyway, so I mean, that all like really, the more you can, you know, expand your horizons as a student and just like approach things without fear. I mean, that's all going to just pay off tenfold in the future.
The confidence factor. Like I was thinking about, it's so hard being the one that's auditioning and having that table in front of you and feeling so watched and all of the insecurities that come out and all the like, what do they want? What do they want to see? And that fear and that stress shows. And then being on the other side of the table and seeing what you're actually looking for is the confidence. I mean, if I'm thinking about all the people that catch my eye, it's people that are going to walk into the room. I'm definitely looking at etiquette. Are they being polite? Are they, you know, being gracious? How are they treating the other people in the space? But then when it comes time to learning the movement and to performing the movement, how eager they are to learn and listen and that focus, which I think is, I want to say it's like that type A brain that you are just open, you're listening, you're taking it all in and you're catching those details. But then when it comes time to performing it, it's that like, okay, take that breath and then letting it all out.
Yeah, for sure.
Catches the eye immediately. And even the dancers where I'm like, they actually don't have the highest level of technique in this room, but they're selling they're not selling their soul. They're letting me see their soul in the way they're
performing.
Make
you feel something.
And they make you feel something. And you're like, well, you know what? Her feet aren't ginormous hooks. I don't care. I love watching them dance. And that's, I think, the thing as a student, when you come into those, you're like, they're looking at everything. They're looking at my body type and they are to a certain respect, but I think that's where the knowing your own strengths and coming into that space, you have to like accept the things that you know are not the thing that you have and really like show that thing that you're like, I this is how I feel about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every dancer is going to have their thing that they're insecure about or don't feel like they're strong at. But, you know, and this is a lesson that I probably learned too late into my career, but like, don't advertise that. Like, I'm like truthful to a fault. So I'm always like, oh, that's really not my best thing, and like just not that you have to be fake, but like exude confidence, even if you don't feel it. Thing comes up and someone's like, I don't want to do this because like this is not my best,
Yeah.
I think if we like go into auditions and carry with us what it is that we feel confident about and like sell the good things about us, then like just like in a performance, they're not gonna you have to believe to some extent that the people on the other side are like cheering you on and or they're there to see you, like so give them something good, but
and that kind of brings up the thought for me too of this, like, how do you modify appropriately so that it does still work for you without changing? Because you can always get the teacher that's like, that's not the choreography I gave you, versus like, I understand that, but I also want to put my best into it, and my best is finding ways to make it work on my body, which I think is a super professional level piece of the artistry. And that's what you're doing with choreographers all the time. They're setting something on you, especially if it's a brand new work.
Right.
And they're going to put their own body into it. And then you're going to be like, that doesn't work on my body. So how are we going to come to a place where it reads the way you want it to? And it's that weird dynamic between being a student and follow the rules and also transitioning into that professional world and adding you into it.
Right. Well, and I think that's kind of maybe a differentiation between auditioning as a student for say a summer program or a traineeship or a company spot, and and a lot of that I think is just kind of like read the room, because sometimes teachers will say stuff like
make it your own,
or you can choose to finish with like a balance of your choice, so of course pick the one you feel best about,
right,
but it's like, how does it come across, right? Because like I totally agree and think that should always be an option. Because in the real world, in the professional world, like
they're not going to put you on stage doing something that you don't look good doing.
Right. Like either, I mean, every variation has variations to it, so like, you would hope that you would get to choose the thing that shows your best, or the best option for you. But like I have seen it where, sometimes like a student auditioning takes a lot of liberties, and it can come across like
arrogant or I know better than you.
And probably that's not at all what they intend. They're just trying to do something that they think looks good. But, there's that like, okay, can you learn the specific choreography, the specific timing, and so it's just, I think that's a read the room type situation.
I think energy is huge in this though too, right? Like I was just trying to, in my head, analyze like, why do you know the difference between somebody that's like, ooh, I'm tweaking it for me to show you what I can do versus I know better. And I think that's the beautiful thing about dance in general is this, it's so tangible, that energy and the attitude and the intention behind what you're doing when you're moving, that just comes across immediately of whether or not you're doing that based off of your own agenda or if it's for something of like, just trying to make the best thing I can here.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember this girl at Boston Ballet that just, we were students. I went to the summer program, and she just had this beautiful smile and just always looked like she was enjoying herself dancing, which we all were, but most of us were in that, like, I'm an artist, I have to suffer for it kind of phase, otherwise I'm not trying hard enough or something.
I'm not sweating by pliés. I'm not working hard enough.
I don't realize how bad I am, like you have to realize how bad you are so you can get better. But like one of our teachers, like clearly had they had adjudicated auditions. And so they were like, okay, everybody, let's watch her do, I think it was like adagio or something. And the rest of us, had been struggling. And, she was a student too. Like she wasn't perfect, but man, she just had this like energy and this beautiful smile and just looked like she was enjoying herself. And he's like, I remember her from the audition tour. I mean, how many kids, students did he see, and he remembered her.
It's the human connection, right? There was dance involved, but it was her putting herself out there as a person.
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally think that like, you walk into that room, you're nervous, of course, like, right. You're nervous because you care, because you want it, because you want to be seen in your best light. It's live, so you don't know, you can't edit it,
Yeah.
But what you can convey is like your energy, your willingness and eagerness to work hard. And I mean, no one's going in there expecting you to be perfect.
Right.
And that's not real life, but it's like, what can you show? Can you show that you have strong musicality? Can you show that you know, have performance quality even in class, like that you can pick up the combination, you know? I mean, there's you're a really strong jumper, so you make sure you're seen in all those
Front
jump
and center in those
combinations,
jump
you know?
combos, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, the way for me that I used to do it to switch my brain and switch that energy of feeling like, they're assessing me, was that not a power move intentionally, but a power move of like, I'm assessing this program and like the combinations that they're giving, are they things that are going to improve me?
For sure.
How do I fit myself into what they're offering and make that worthwhile for me as a person? And I think that really switches the dynamic. And I feel like the next generation coming in kind of already has that ingrained in their function as it is. But that switch of, it's not just them assessing you, that you're also seeing whether or not this program is going to be the right place for you, and if you want to go there or not.
For sure.
Changes that feeling and relieves some of that stress.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, try to get out of your own way. That's what I would say to dancers, like going in and, you know, like, don't anticipate that everyone's going to, like, not want to talk to you or be critical. Like, just go in and try to be open and, you know,
go enjoy it. I mean, you have such a short time of your life that you get to dance the way that you dance. Yeah. Every single chance that you have to dance in a different scenario, it's like, make the most out of that. Have fun.
Like, go in, go up to someone, hey, like, you know, I don't mean to bother you before class, but I'm auditioning, you know, is there any where I shouldn't stand? Or, you know, introduce yourself to the teacher before class, like that kind of stuff, just in case they don't know, or, you know, just to make yourself known. Like, you're not there to hide, you're there to be seen.
Who was that? This is a very young kid. She came into a dance class, and the class had already been established as I was a teacher. So the kids had already been coming for a few weeks, and this girl was new, and she literally busts through the door. Hi, I'm Gabby, and I'm new here.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So adorable. And I was like, oh my God, come in. Let's do this. So excited to be there, and so open with like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here. Tell me what to do. Right. Yeah. And I think it enables people to be like, oh yeah, let me help you. Here, let's do this. For sure. Versus, you know, coming in scared and like
timid and
the fear. It's the fear.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you know, and again, it's always like read the energy in the room and all of that. But I think especially like when you're going to audition for a company, you know, you're a human being and you're going to be working with other adult human beings, and your personality and the dynamics that you know adds or detracts from the company is like, it's going to be a huge part of the success of a season. And so you know, you're not just a body on stage, and you shouldn't want to be. You should want to be a person that's viewed as an artist, viewed as having a voice, you know. You're gonna have to go to functions and speak with donors, and you know, if you are just a like mute body on stage, like it's not going to serve you well. It's not going to serve the company well. So the more you can just kind of like, hi, I'm Karen. You know what I mean? Yeah. I met a lot of people really fast because
it puts people at ease when you take that energy into it too. Yeah. You know,
I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but I was like, but you got to just.
And there's a chance that someone could just kind of side eye you and walk away, and you're like, awesome. Let's do it again.
I'm no stranger to being uncool. Yeah. So I just
embrace it.
I just live in it.
I think we all have to, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. I love it.
Jen, you've been a dancer.
I have.
And I'm sure you have plenty of things you want to share about your auditions, huh?
I do. So we went to college, the same location, but different years. So I went to University of California for my graduate program from 2004 to 2006. So I worked with Don McHale, Loretta Livingston. I was not in Etudes Ensemble because I was very much so, I came in very ballet centric because of the way that my undergraduate kind of like supported and embraced me. But then when I got to UC Irvine, I was like, oh, but modern's flipping awesome. It's where I learned release technique. That's where I learned Limon. It's where I learned Horton. And it was very eye-opening to me as a person about that whole world. And it made me mad a little bit because I was like, but this is where I belong. Yeah. This is where my body belongs. This is where my soul belongs. And I'm only learning about it now. Yeah. So I wish that I had that a little sooner. But so we went to the same school, which is super awesome. I danced since I was a little pinky at all the recreation. Like I have a sequins. My very, very first dance performance was pink sequins, and it was tap. It was a combo class with tap and ballet down in Florida. And then we moved to Pennsylvania, and I got very serious into ballet. So it was the, Lake Erie Ballet, I think is what it was called at the time. And now it's like the Erie Contemporary Ballet, or maybe it's been rebranded and renamed. Okay. Very serious about ballet when I was there. did summer intensives at very ballet specific things like the Rock, CPYB, Ballet West, Sac Ballet. My junior year of high school, we moved from Erie, Pennsylvania, my parents and I, out to Sacramento.
Okay.
And so I started dancing at Dean Dance, which at the time was the official school of the Sacramento Ballet. It's different now. I think Sac Ballet has their own academy.
Yeah.
I think I taught there for a couple of years too, actually. So I should know that a little bit more assertively. Did a lot of ballet again there, like all ballet, maybe a little jazz, but it was like the old school, like rib isolations. Yes. Pas de bourrée.
Yeah. Don't teach that in jazz class. I had to sub for a jazz class once more recently, and they were like, what? I was like, never mind.
I'm sorry. I just dated myself.
I just wanted to teach you retro jazz.
I just wanted you to know where you came from, right? The roots of it.
That's not what we're going to do. I was just kidding. It was a
test. And then went to college at University of Utah for my undergraduate, which again, it was like there was a ballet program and there was a modern program, and the two really didn't mesh. I had a few friends, either we were roommates, resident advisors, and we like learned that we were both like the dance program. And so there was a little crossover with me and a few people in the modern program where I was in some of their shows, and I actually brought them into some of the ballet shows. But University of Utah was like kind of anytime I try to do something contemporary, they're kind of like they a little bit turned their nose up at it. And then the time when I was graduating at senior year and I did like a classical ballet piece, they were like, this is the thing that we wanted you to be doing the whole time with choreography. And I'm like, well, that's nice, but I don't like, I can do that and that's fine. But it was bodies moving.
I wonder if their program is still that way, because it seems so like not
not
helpful.
With the times.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they've now merged. So there's a dance program.
Okay. That makes sense.
And I think there's more integration there between the two styles and things.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, have grown up dancing, and I have a master's degree in dance, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Graduated from UC Irvine, did all of, you have to do your thesis and all of the things that are like, it's so much at the end of the year. And at the same time, you're supposed to be putting yourself out there for jobs. And like, who has time to do any of that?
Nobody.
I didn't
but you do it. You just never sleep.
I wrote a resume, but like I didn't do any sort of headshots or videos or any of that stuff to kind of sell myself. But I sent a bunch of letters out to a bunch of the different places in Southern California because I kind of wanted to stay down there. I really liked that part of California. Didn't get anything offered to me before graduating. And so I moved back home to Sacramento, and I ended up getting jobs and stuff up there. I think I was home for like a month when I finally got an offer letter from one of the universities down in Southern California that was like, we want you to be an adjunct professor. And I was like, I literally just moved everything back home. And I turned that job down. And it's like, what would life have been like if I had done that and gone down there? I don't know. I would have met you sooner. Who knows?
Maybe.
But
or never at all.
Or never at all, which would have been so sad.
That would have been sad.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. So I'm happy the path that we're on. Was running a dance program in Sacramento, teaching at a couple of different studios there. Got super burned out and just like it was way too much. And I was in my 20s, and there was a lot of commuting time between different locations.
Yeah,
trying to patch.
Very spread out there.
It's and there's traffic, and it's like a 35-minute drive can easily turn into an hour and a half, 2 hours just because of the traffic. And just trying to piece together like the post-college life of trying to keep dance in your life. I didn't have here's a full-time healthcare position, consistent pay. It was me piecing together things, and holidays when you didn't have work, you didn't get paid. And it was just this like, I can't sustain this as a person. And I got really burned out trying to do it. So I moved up to Seattle. Also, California is really, really hot and dry. Sacramento is like 115 degrees. Which the dryness helps, but not enough. And I do not like to be hot to that extent.
I'm sure you remember that Sacramento Ballet did not have air conditioning at the time.
That was a big problem. Yeah, did not like it. I don't mind sweating, but I don't want to be sweating outside of a dance class all the time. So I was like, where can I go? Seattle. And it was beautiful there. And I taught at a studio there, but picked up photography. Actually kind of picked up photography during UC Irvine because of my thesis, that like the holistic presentation of doing a performance was there was the marketing component of like people had to know what you were doing and be able to buy tickets and come and see it. So I did some promo photos for my thesis work and did some video work for that. They also had a digital dance and digital something where it was like integrating and trying to show you it was like the camcorder that I had to use was a little like DV cassette tape camcorder. And that was very high tech at the time. So I'm real old. It's exciting. but started to have like this like trickle of photography and film with dance happened around grad school. And then just kind of continued as I went to Seattle. I was doing actually newborn baby photography there. Like I was trying to drop the dance thing altogether and just do something new. So
but it wouldn't let you go, would it?
It wouldn't let me go. And I think I did photos for a dance studio actually when I was in Sacramento before I went to Seattle too. They're like production photos where they have all their costumes and their team shots and things. And I remember I had never done that type of thing for money. So there was the stress of like, and it's parents and it's photos of their kids. So they're going to be really critical of like the types of photos that I'm going to be taking. And I winged it and I figured it out. And it actually like wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So it was kind of exciting. In Seattle, I moved out here to Ohio because there was like a Christmas vacation where I came out and my brother and his wife and his family live here. And my oldest nephew at the time kind of leaned over and was like, my sister's name is Jessie. Are you Auntie Jenny or are you Auntie Jessie? And I was like, I'm living in Seattle just to like try it out. Like I'd rather be close to family. So moved out to Ohio, 2011, 2012. So like 11, 12 years ago, but got a job at Ballet Met in the marketing department, working as a marketing assistant, I think it was. And at the time, like there was a photographer that was taking promo photo shoots for the season, like brochure. But there really wasn't anybody doing the well, there was somebody doing performance photography, but it was kind of inconsistent. And just when I came in and I saw the photos and videos that they had, it was an instant like, I can help here. Yeah. I can do something to make this more consistent and give us more things to work with for marketing.
It always just like kind of blows my mind that you like just weren't always like Jennifer Zmuda, the photographer, videographer of Ballet Met, because I know my first season that you weren't yet the full-time person, but you were I remember you being involved in like the very first photo shoot I was in the company. Yeah. But you weren't the photographer.
I wasn't. Yeah.
And
that photographer actually got mad at me because I was asked to take behind the scenes photos. So I was taking behind the scenes photos and they got mad that I was taking photos. And I get it. Yeah. But also I was like, I think I was in my 20s. So I was like, I'm doing what I was told. But go ahead. Sorry.
But no, just like, I don't know. I mean, we started talking like right away and became friends. But then, I don't know. It was just like, then you just were. Yep. And like the other day I had this realization. I was like, because you're just like this extraordinaire, entrepreneur, business owner, whatever. You do all these things.
Hustling.
Well, yeah. But like, I mean, you're at this level and your work has been published so widely. Yeah. And like, I mean, dancers want to work with you. It's not just like, I need dance photos. Who's in my area? I mean, you're sought out from people all over. So, but like, not that that's like a recent development, but like it's happened in not like that long of a time span, really.
It is always weird when I
self-made woman.
Self-made. When I sit and think about some of the things that have been accomplished, it's like weird. Yeah, I did that. That's me. Yeah. Crazy.
I'm that person.
I'm that person.
You're that person.
But that same thing with like dance. It's like you're always criticizing yourself and always like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that right, or I could do it better. And it's just, I think that's a part of being a creative person in general, is that constant striving for improvement, which is cool. Yeah. I wish it came from like, as an observer of others, I wish it came with some like success, but I don't know. Sometimes those successes have to be thrown at you. Yeah. Sure. So.
But sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. But like, I just like when you're saying your story, I'm like, I just like I've been fortunate that I was in Ballet Met in this era of like really great photography and videography. Like, I mean,
you've been fun to photograph.
I've had so many awesome photo shoots with you, and probably more photos than I could ever do. Like hang up in my house. But like, like every time someone shares or you share a photo that's from one of my years at Ballet Met, people are like, you need to frame that and put it up. I'm like, you're right.
There's not enough wall space.
It would look a little creepy. It was just me staring back at myself. But like, it's just like, you're just a really good job. So, Yeah. Anyway. Thanks for taking great photos of me.
You're welcome.
Making me look good.
Yeah. Easy. Very easy. There was a time where I was auditioning to perform. Oh, that's what it was. That, so I never really liked performing. The part on stage. Yeah. Too much fear. Yeah. Too much stress. Oh. Too much of that tension. But the process inside the studio, I always loved the I could release there and I could perform there and I could get all of the feelings that I felt doing someone's choreography and work in the studio. So I already knew like, I don't want to do this as a professional. Like, I do not want to be a performer. I want to be behind the scenes somehow. Choreography was huge for me. So I was choreographing in my graduate work, and my graduate degree is dance with a choreographic emphasis. So was right out of college. Then I was running this dance program up in Sacramento and was choreographing on those students, and then had started my own kind of modern company doing things. But there was a brief period before that really developed that I was still like, well, but maybe, I mean, are you a legit dancer unless you've been paid to perform? Like, can I call myself a dancer? Thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
So I did do the audition thing. And the funniest realization of like, oh, this is weird. This is a different world. Was auditioning in Southern California for a cruise ship. And it was the Disney cruise ship. And I came at it. We started off with ballet. And I came at it as like, oh, good. I'm good at ballet. I got this. I got cut after the ballet part.
Oh.
Not because I wasn't good at ballet, but because they weren't actually looking for ballet. It took me a second to realize it. And I'm not in any way diminishing this person. I just am realizing that what I was auditioning for was not what they were auditioning for. And there was a girl it's Disney. She had done her hair as little Mickey Mouse.
Oh my gosh.
Buns. She had a crop top on. I came in a black leotard, pink tights, slicked back crown bun. And I remember thinking like, what? She's serious? She got cast.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And I was like, oh.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, a similar experience when I auditioned for Royal Caribbean was I thought, okay, right. Think about the audition you're going to. This is not a ballet audition. I'm not going to wear a black leotard. I'm going to wear a colored leotard.
I did not have that forethought.
I wore like bike shorts. So, changing it up, mixing it up.
Risky.
I think my friend, she had been on like the dance team in college. So she told me, like, don't wear your hair up, like wear it down, wear makeup. Like, I felt like I'm not wearing any clothing. I was like, this feels so out of my comfort zone. But I don't know anyone here except my one friend. So, like, no one will ever know that it was me, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna be what I think they want. And I mean, I'm sure I was still, like, more balletic but I was like, I'm just gonna be, like, bubbly and fun and, like,
play a role.
Yeah, like, like, improv. I'm gonna, like...
Ooh, I just remembered another one. Go ahead.
My gosh. And, well, anyway, I felt bad because my friend that I went with, she ended up getting cut, like, kind of early in the day. And we had carpooled, like, an hour to this audition.
You just to sit there and wait and be like...
And I was like, okay, well, like, it can't take that much longer. I was there, like, all day auditioning. Like,
poor her.
I mean, ballet auditions, it's like you take ballet class and maybe there's some, like, partnering or something afterwards.
And they say thank you and get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
No, yeah, like, the next audition starts, right?
Yeah.
I was like, no, this was, like, we showed up. We had to be there, like, done up at, like, 8 a.m. and had driven in like LA traffic to get there. It was wild. And get there, start at 8 a.m. I don't think I was done till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And she's just like sitting out there. I felt so bad. I was like, I can just leave. Like we had like a little break. I was like, I actually
don't even want to get this job, but I just...
I'm like, she's like, no, you're going to keep going, And
supportive friend. You got to have those. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then I didn't hear, they're like, okay, we'll be in touch, and then 6 months later I got called. I was like, what? So, but yeah, they'll keep your stuff for like, I think like up to a year or something, because it's like they're trying to cast like a group together kind of thing. Okay. So
and cruise ship jobs, I think that those are actually really awesome. You get to travel.
Yep.
Your room and board is covered because you're not paying for apartment or food, and then they're paying you a stipend on top of that.
Yeah, and they pay well.
They
paid well back then.
I had a dog at the time, and I was like, I can't leave my dog. So I also was not going to consider it as a thing, but like, it sounds like a great thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I was concerned about the, like, well, if I do this, will I ever be able to get into a ballet company? Because I was like, I'm not going to be taking ballet class, of course.
Okay, yeah.
But like...
Well, they look at me different because my last job was a cruise ship job.
Right, but it didn't quite align with... I was open to things, but it didn't quite align with what I wanted at the time.
Which is important to know what your goal is, too, right?
Right, yeah. I mean... I knew my goal was that so opposite of you, I mean, I do love working in the studio, but I love performing. Yeah. And so I was like, well.
I know. I can see it when you dance.
Oh, thanks. I was like, well, if I go on a cruise ship, I'm going to be performing a lot.
Yeah.
So that would be exciting.
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't quite what I wanted. And, you know, at the time, life was such, like, I had a boyfriend. I was like, I can't leave him. Like, a few months later, we weren't
broke up
together
anyway.
anymore.
Yeah, never
But,
make
you
a
know,
decision based off of a boy. First of all,
not a like college, high school boyfriend anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so preparing for auditions. What kinds of things do you think that we should be doing to prepare and then make that audition as successful as possible? I can no longer talk because we've been talking for so long.
Well, I think that, you know, it's really important that you think about how you're presenting yourself in each different audition that you go to. And that starts from like the time you're preparing your materials, you know? So I remember
even from like deciding who you want to audition for before preparing
like you need to do your research.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's right. Like, so when you're starting out, right, it's just like, okay, audition for everyone, anyone, you know, and that is good.
It's good experience.
It's good experience. You'll learn what maybe you like, what you don't like, all those kinds of, who gives you attention,
maybe you don't know.
Yeah. That's all great. But then like, as you get older and, or maybe say you're auditioning for, you know, like professional companies or whatever, like you like financially, I mean, I couldn't have just gone to every audition. I mean, you have to pay for the audition, the travel, that, you know,
lodging
the
if you're going somewhere
time,
different.
like, so, you know, you have to like make educated guesses about what's going to be the best, you know, for you, potential for you. So things I did, I remember I researched any company that was going to be coming, like senior year, I researched any company that was going to be coming to perform either at Irvine or nearby.
That's not where my brain was going.
Oh. Yeah. And so, one, because I wanted to see them perform live if I could.
Yeah.
Two, I thought, well, I'll reach out and just like, you know, I was using one of my professors at the time, like as like a mentor, and if she had any connections, like sometimes she would forward my materials on for me.
Which is so huge. Having that actual connection, messaging other people that they're connected with is like instantly a leg up.
And then I would like say, I remember like
a leg up. I'm so sorry. That's terrible.
I remember like, you know, like Ballet X came it was like to San Diego, which was a couple hour drive, but I mean, it was a lot closer than me going to Pennsylvania. Sure. So, they were performing, and I ultimately didn't end up being the best timing for this because they were literally doing I think it's called a run out. It's like one performance, and then like they literally like came, teched, performed the next day, and then left.
Gone.
So, but I emailed them and I said like, will you be holding a company class that I could come, you know,
smart
take?
That's really smart. I would never had that confidence.
I mean, confidence, you know, behind the keyboard, you know, but like, so I sent my materials and just said, you know, like I work with so-and-so and at UC Irvine and, you know, I would love to like take company classes away to audition for your company kind of thing. And they said yes. And I didn't have to pay for it or anything, but I'd have to drive myself there, of course. But like, that experience, like, I mean, they were very nice, but like ultimately, like they were so busy. They weren't like, I came with like a solo prepared and was like, just in case they would like ask me to see something.
Sure.
But,
anxiety.
Yeah, but they like, I mean, I took class and they were kind of like, you know, thank you for coming. And I didn't hear anything from them, you know.
Sometimes it's literally just building that relationship right off the bat
and
too,
like,
though, right?
maybe had I gone and auditioned in person, maybe like I could say like, oh yeah, I met you.
Yeah.
When you performed in San Diego, you know, so like, again, just having that, building a history and a relationship is great. But I did that with a bunch of companies. Sometimes I never heard back. Sometimes they said, yeah. Sometimes they said, you know, it's just like, unfortunately not a great time for us because we have such limited time, or we just, I always appreciate it. They're honest. Like, we just don't have time to look at you at that point, you know, or we're holding auditions at these times and we're not like prepared and like knowing how many spots we have, so we wouldn't be able to offer anything or whatever, you know. So, but I mean, so I had my audition reel, which was like, man, if I could be a student today and have professional photos like you give these kids.
And that was the thought that I couldn't remember before of like, I'm so motivated to take photos and videos for people because I, as a dancer, don't have anything really.
I still have my first audition photos. I mean, okay, so first I had like, you know, just my friend or mom would like come into the studio and take
on a little camcorder or whatever,
like a digital camera, you know, and then
those 4 megapixels.
All I could do was like, oh, it's kind of crooked. You could tell because the bar's like this, and like I'm just gonna like edit it to be straight, and then do I still look, you know, like that was, and the lighting was terrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then like I had a friend who was into photography, you know, our senior year. And so she took like a couple headshots and a few photos with me in like black and white. And like, those
Super
were my audition
artistic.
photos,
Yeah.
you know, and like,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're cool to look back at now,
Yeah.
but I'm like,
It's historical, you know?
yeah, they could be in a museum.
They might be someday. You never know.
Maybe. You know, but then like, and like my reel that I sent out in college, like, I mean, we got some performance footage, or like I was able to access some performance
That's the hardest
footage
thing
from
to
college,
get, I think.
but
Yeah.
it was really like low quality or like not very scarce. And so I just took what I had and filmed what I could on my own. And, you know, I had like 3 or 4 different videos ranging from like a modern solo to like a classical ballet solo, pas de deux, contemporary ballet. And I just would, okay, well, this company is more classical, so I'm not going to send them the modern solo and take that one off and replace it with this. And then, you know, so I think like shaping, like if I was auditioning for a modern company, I would take off like all the ballet stuff, you know, and just like,
give them what they're looking for.
Yeah. And like, you know, even on my resume, which was like very short at the time, but you know, I filled it out with whatever
It'll
I
look
could.
real beefy. Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to move the modern stuff like to the forefront, or I'm going to move the ballet stuff to the forefront because I want them to see what they're looking for, you know? So, I think versatility is key in just your training so you can present all of that. But like, it's also a matter of like, you know, present yourself the way you want them to see you and what you think they're looking for, you know? So going to an audition, if you're going to go audition for a modern company, probably don't show up in a black leotard with pink tights underneath and your hair in a slick back bun.
Right.
You know, do your research on the company that you're going to. I think there's also a difference of like auditioning as a student versus a professional,
Absolutely,
you know, like, so if you're going to a summer program audition, it's going to be more like straightforward, like student attire. And you probably want to kind of adhere to that. Maybe wear a colored leotard to stand out, you know, but you don't want to go too wild with your individuality because like it presents a certain level of, you know, you want to be like, I am a trainable dancer, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah. And I'm almost like, does it even show that like, is that taking you into like, I'm overqualified? If you already look like you're auditioning for professional things, but you're auditioning for a summer intensive. Yeah. It's still kind of like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
What are you auditioning
why aren't you,
for?
You know, yeah. So I think like if you are a student, present yourself as like clean and professional, but a student. That's okay to look like a student, you know? If you're going to audition for even a pre-professional, like maybe a second company kind of thing, or
traineeship, apprenticeship.
That's like the weird, like read the room kind of thing, or do your research. Like some traineeships, some second companies are much more student and some are more professional. You know, I mean, like a Ballet Met 2 is part of the company basically, you know,
and the trainee program is the top part of the academy. Yeah.
So, you know, if I was auditioning for say Ballet Met to be a trainee, I would probably still present myself as a very clean,
professional,
strong student.
Yeah.
Where if I'm auditioning for Ballet Met 2 or the company, like I don't want to look like a student, you know? I think that's such a hard thing to judge. And I remember being like at it was right after I graduated college actually. And I went to Hubbard Street for the summer. I was doing their summer program, but I was auditioning for their second company, like through their summer program. And, I came so close to getting it, man. That would have been cool. But I mean, I love where I ended up. But like,
good stories. Yeah,
it was my dream to get in there. They talked to me like the first day, said they're super interested, and then like the day before the last day of the program,
we don't want you.
They're like, well, we only have one spot, and we gave it to this other girl that we already know from last summer. I was like, that would have been nice to know like a month ago.
17 energies ago.
Pulled my heart out and laid it on a platter. Anyway.
But, I mean, I think that gives you the like, okay, well, maybe I'll do it again next year. You know, you want to hear that kind of stuff anyway.
And everything worked out for a reason. Like,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I ended up where I was supposed to be. But like, so like even going there, you know, I remember someone asking me like the first week, like they said to me, oh man, this is such a cool experience. They said, where do you dance? And I was like, Wait. Like, did you just, like, you didn't ask me, like, where I train? Like, you asked me, like, where I, like, you think I'm a professional dancer? Oh my gosh. You know? And, like, so stupid. But, like.
No, it makes you,
I was like,
it's the thing that leads your head to go to a certain direction too, right? Like, I can do this.
You think that I could dance somewhere. So, like, that means someone else might think that. Like,
right?
think I might be worthy of doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think it really is like you get into that shift of like, okay, well, don't present yourself as a student if you don't want to be seen as a student, because it is so hard to break that like initial barrier and get your first company job or apprenticeship or, you know, whatever level you're getting into.
What I think is so cool for the generation that's coming in now, as sometimes challenging as social media is, when it was my time to audition, you didn't have social media to look at their accounts. And now it's like,
it's all there.
I tell them, the students that I work with, look at their social media, because those posts have been approved by the artistic director.
Yeah.
The style, everything that's happening, everything that's being showcased is what that artistic director likes and loves.
Yeah. And wants to portray.
And wants to project and get from, you know, people auditioning for them. And I think preparing for doing their photo shoot to do any sort of like portfolio building, that's a step I would do ahead of time, is in the research. What poses, what dynamic, what are the people wearing, and trying to find ways to build that into your portfolio so that you have it now to be able to like shuffle the
plug
deck
and play
and put the right thing in and have that diverse base to pull from. Yeah. I think it's so hard to get performance footage. Like that's, we can create everything in the studio that we can, but how you're going to get really good high quality performance footage is kind of the hard part. How did you do it? Again, it was like not necessarily high tech quality, but you got some.
Yeah. I think honestly, like, probably is like mostly like bootleg, like my friend just like filmed me or something, you know. Like I mean, our
cell phones now,
our phones weren't like that great.
They were not. I had a flip Nokia.
What did my friend? I don't even know what I filmed. I mean, the department. I was fortunate that a few of the shows I did, the department filmed, and so I like requested
had access to that. Yeah,
you know.
Which is nice with college programs because, right, both University of Utah and UC Irvine very much so documented their performances with video, and you could request those different pieces. But like with schools.
Yeah. Well, and I think I was actually like my senior year, I was in several grad students' thesis concerts and programs. And so they did a lot of documentation of them. So I think I did get some really great footage from that as well. Because like the department did document, but it was more like a widescreen, you know, like just single take kind of thing, where like some of the grad pieces I was in, you know, we were in like a black box theater or something where it's like more interactive space. And so they were doing some like artistic stuff as well, like trying to get cool video. And so I had a few options, but my materials were very slim pickings back in the day. And trying to even think like what photo. I had some professional photos. I had a professional headshot.
Okay.
Because, or it might have been like a semi-professional headshot, but my senior year in college, I had to do a thesis for the honors program I was in, and so I actually created a course at UC Irvine that was about bridging the gap between college and career, and trying to just kind of like create this space where seniors or juniors who are about to, you know, be seniors could like learn and ask questions. And I just got tired of like hearing people say like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my degree. It's worthless. Like, because like maybe they didn't want to end up being a performer or a choreographer. And so then they're like, kind of like had this like, is it worth anything? Is it? And I was like, it is worth something. I value it. And I was just like, there's so many careers that a dance degree can serve you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it could be completely unrelated, and just like the training and dedication and all of the things that we learn as dancers is valuable. But I mean, you could go into physical therapy and work with dancers, or just like your level of understanding would serve you there, of the like body and movement. You could go into photography. You could go into, you know, choreography, dancing, performing, teaching. You could work in film and help with like choreography, or even just like, we had someone come in who did all the like little the motion capture stuff, you know,
because UC Irvine has they had a very advanced motion capture studio at the time that I was going there. I actually did not get to utilize it, which is stupid.
I got to go in like one time, but it like so like so we had all these professionals come in, and like each week was dedicated to a different like thing that your degree could serve you in.
Yeah.
And then it was also like the overarching theme of the course was like
You created this course?
Yeah, I had a mentor and we like worked together.
That's awesome.
But this is like, I was like, this is my brainchild. I want to do this.
The things that you're passionate about, though, are the things you need to go for, right?
Yeah. And so like the overarching theme was like, come up with like your plan A and your plan B and create like, basically like the assignments were like go through the steps of like all this prep work to get you ready for auditions, or it doesn't have to be auditioning for a dance company, but that's where my mind was, of course. But you know, so it was like you think about auditioning as far as like not just I want to dance for any company, but I want to dance for a company that tours. I want to dance I really love this city and I want to live there. So like I'm going to do a search of all the companies and organizations in that city versus just look at the whole US or so that's kind of what got me thinking about the like auditioning in a certain or contacting companies that were coming in, like just like trying to be resourceful in different ways to get myself to more auditions.
Smart. Yeah.
You know, come up with a budget for like how much is it really going to cost me to go to all these auditions and start looking up plane tickets or whatever, you know.
Which the virtual world has changed that a bit.
Yes,
and I don't want to go into that too much. We can save that for another conversation.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different ball game sometimes.
I know. I think it's a blessing and a curse.
I agree. Yeah.
I think like I was helping actually with Ballet Met adjudicating some of when they started doing the National Summer Program Intensive Auditions, NSIA, whatever.
There's letters. There's a bunch of letters in that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, because I used to my mom would have to drive me to San Francisco for every audition. We'd spend like, I feel like January, February is like every weekend we are going to San Francisco, and the cost and time involved in that and the stress, like how cool to just like one day take class and everybody could see you. But also it's a lot of pressure in itself, you know.
And there's not that easy energy transference too. It's a screen, like, you know.
Zoom, like sound lag. There's a
lot of problems with it.
But I can say for anyone like concerned about like those kinds of things and like that, like, well, how am I going to be seen? Like I watched I adjudicated many auditions for Ballet Met, and I wasn't looking at them thinking like anything negative. Like I was just like trying to just take it all in. There's a lot of kids in them typically. But like what stands out to you, it's just like what we're talking about. Like even across a screen, you can see people who are enjoying what they're doing, who look like they're, you know, conveying something, you know, even if you can't feel it quite like you could in person. You see the effort, you can still see it, So I wasn't worried about people's musicality due to lag time or, I mean, I know we had company rehearsals over Zoom in class, and like, you know, teacher be like, why aren't you guys on the music? And you're like, I am right here in my living room. Oh, it's not the same there. Hey, there's a lag, guys. We learned this. During COVID. During COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, so post-COVID world, we're still doing some of the Zoom things, and we've learned a lot about them.
All right, so we got interrupted because the dogs are barking, but let's synthesize here. So if we could do a top 3 tips for people who are about to audition for summer intensives or for traineeships, company, professional side of things, what top 3 things would we kind of focus on?
I'd say number 1, we'd say research and prepare your materials early, because the last thing you want to be doing is scrambling. Yeah, that's never a good feeling for anyone.
And then you like the quality goes down because you're like, we don't have time, so just this is fine. You'd rather it be this is good, right?
So I think starting early.
How early? What would you say is early? Because you start auditioning in January.
Yeah.
January.
I mean, so, you know, and I don't know, things are maybe a little different than back when I was auditioning. No, but I think I remember people saying like, you know, a good time to start sending materials to people could even be during Nutcracker, because directors typically have some downtime because the show's up and going and they're just kind of like
letting it run.
They may not be quite in the headspace to be making decisions yet, but you could always reach out and like, you know, hey, I'm looking ahead to audition season, trying to plan like where I might be able to take company class. Like I think always like adding that little bit of like a personable thing before you get in, like having a cover letter on your emails and everything is, I think, really important. That's probably another topic.
That's a whole other one.
But I think like, I think fall, you have to get them done.
Yeah.
Like Like, I mean,
which feels so weird, right? Like, because if you're in a school, like school, her classes just started.
Yeah.
But now it's October, and absolutely should, by this point, I think, have
yeah.
some inclination of where you want to audition and why.
Yeah. I think, like, okay, so what I learned from, like, the class that I did at Irvine is, like, we thought fall of senior year would be a great time to, like, be doing all of this. I think your research might even need to start, like, I mean, if we were doing this on a class schedule, I would say, like, research of where you want to, like, where you're thinking about auditioning might start, like, the spring before, might start the summer before. Like, because, you know, you might want to catch performances or, I mean, things are a little bit more accessible, like we talked about with social media now.
So
they can
like, go watch it on YouTube or something.
You could probably spend a week, right? Like deep dive and like get all your info. But I think like fall, you need to like certainly
have that list,
making that list, and then like, because then you can start to like, you know, strategize and like, okay, well, like as like we might not have the audition schedule yet, but like as that starts to come available and you start to like fill in like, oh, hey, these two companies are going to be auditioning the same weekend. I could like, if I'm going to travel, like I could hit up both of them, you know, or I could
strategize that,
you know, versus like just bouncing around from place to place. And that's a lot of time and money and all of that. So research early, prep your materials as soon as you can. I mean, you know,
putting in time to practice it too, even for photos. So like video portion, of course, you're going to want to learn the piece. You want to practice the piece and then film it. I think people don't think about practicing the poses that they want to do. And I think that is so valuable. And when you sign up for a photo shoot, it's maximizing your time.
Right.
I still remember a trainee that I had at Ballet Met and I had mentioned it to them ahead of time, to a whole group of them. I'm like, know the poses you want, practice the poses you want, so that you know that when it comes time to being in front of the camera, you can just put it out there.
For sure.
This trainee was so prepared, and she got the most amazing photos from that. It was 25 minutes in front of the camera, and she
used every ounce
10,
of it.
15 pristine, gorgeous shots.
Yeah.
When sometimes like you could have 25 minutes and like maybe you got 3 because you didn't practice ahead of time.
Sure.
So,
well, I think especially for, you know, students or just younger dancers who maybe aren't as like experienced with photo shoots, like, or improving, you know, I mean,
that's a whole nother conversation too.
But like, you know, you want to like think about it in advance for sure and try out some different poses, and maybe you have your friend, you know, or
set up your cell phone yourself.
Like
look at it.
Like, because I mean, you like arabesque could be your best position, but like what angle, like just what angle, and I mean, you're so great about coaching people on that in the moment, but like
if it's ready though, I mean,
the
that's
more they
saves
can
the
come
time.
in, right? Like if you don't have to get them there like in every inch of the way, like I mean, that just saves time, and that's time is money. So I mean, I think so, definitely like prepare, like research, prepping your materials early, I don't know, and preparing yourself to go into that photo shoot, I think, like for those materials.
I think the third one I would say, so research, know the companies, get your materials prepped. I think get yourself a strategy. This is my third tip, I think, for auditioners, a mental strategy of how you're going to approach. Because we started talking about that, right? Like when you're coming into it, you're auditioning them just as much as they're auditioning you. You're there to show off your best traits. So doing whatever sort of mental strategy and practice, even like in your regular classes, of approaching that class, like if I'm practicing an audition, even though it's not really an audition at this point, what kinds of things am I going to build? It's the muscle memory. It's the same thing with your body memory. If you're, and your muscle memory in your body, but if you're going to work on your brain's memory of that too, like kind of setting up those tools to get you into that headspace so that you are that much more confident and focused when it comes time to being in a new situation.
For sure. Well, and I mean, you know, when you're in the same class, maybe with the same dancers and the same teachers,
feels very comfortable.
Feels very comfortable. You might, maybe your teacher always gives similar combinations, or you know like all, you just follow along for a bar or something. I mean, we've all done it.
Yeah.
But in audition, you're not gonna have that familiarity. So like, I think, you know, put either, if it's like you need to position yourself in the room at a different bar spot so that you can't see anyone, and you have to know the combination first time. Yeah. You know, because there are people, and that's like a very important thing to them in auditions, is like, can the student pick it up, or can the dancer pick it up right away? So,
and I think there are so many studios around now that have open classes that like the comfort level of being in your own studio, your own teachers, your own friends, find places in your community that you can go do an open class with a completely new environment just to
treat it like an
experience and
audition.
treat it like an audition,
Yeah.
even though no one's auditioning you.
For sure.
No one's actually paying attention to that part of it, but there, you know, it gives you the chance to get that
Yeah.
brain memory and that muscle memory in there.
Well, and then we were talking about like, you know, well, I think even say before you're maybe really ready to be going to auditions, like go to auditions even that you don't, I don't want to say you don't care about, but that you don't care about as much, because the pressure is lower.
Yeah.
And you can gain so much insight from that. And like, you know, we said like we auditioned for things that we weren't really like,
No, it's just there
I'm
for fun.
doing this, but it was like, okay, why not?
I learned some things. Yeah.
I definitely learned things. I learned that like you're a performer, so present, like be an artist, present whatever it is that you think they're looking for in that audition, and that can take pressure off.
The dance world is so small too that even though you're like, I don't really actually care about that job path, the people that are involved in that have connections and associations with people that are in the path that you want to be in. And I think that's the amazing thing about just dance in general. Like you went to USER, I went to the same place. Like all of these threads kind of network across the entire dance community,
For sure.
nationally, internationally. And it doesn't take much to build that.
Well, and I think that's part of too, then like also doing your research early.
Who's going to be there?
See these connections, like, oh, my teacher actually used to dance with the director of this company, or, you know, and use that networking. Like, you know, people I think tend to overlook it or be like, I don't know anyone, but it's not true.
It's
like
really
the
not
dance
true.
world is so interconnected. And
What is that? The 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
yeah.
I wonder what the dance world is. Like, Forsyth.
1 degree of foresight.
Yeah.
2 degrees of foresight. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but it is so true. And like, you know, I mean, my like full circle moment of like that was like seeing Age of Innocence as a student, being like, wow, I would love to work on an Edward Liang ballet someday, or maybe I'd even get to work for Edward Liang. And then like fast forward a few years, and we did Age of Innocence, and I danced one of the pas, and like I was like,
beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Michael and I in the company like partnered together, and that was actually one of the first ballets of Edward's that he had seen as well, and we were just having this like, oh my gosh, we were once like these little kids, and now we're here, and like
doing
crazy.
So San Francisco Ballet, YY Tan.
Yeah,
Adored her. Went and saw San Francisco Ballet with my sister, Nutcracker with my sister, and she was Sugar Plum, and I was just like, oh my god, she's the most amazing person. And then being here at Ballet Met, we filmed that ballet Vaulted that won an Emmy, which, but that moment of like, oh my god, I'm directing her on how to do her movement for this film.
That's
was
so
such
cool.
an amazing like. I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
So that world, it just, and it's like
You never know.
it circles around so much.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I there's so many instances of that. So it's like, again, like use that to your advantage, and also like remember that no matter where you are, you will know someone, or someone will know you, or the way, like, you know, so you always have to be presenting yourself the best you can. And again,
and we have bad days. It's okay.
oh yeah,
it's gonna happen.
I'm not saying be perfect.
No, yeah,
but
we
like,
don't have to be perfect all the time, but
you do the best you
genuine
can.
and authentic
Be
to
genuine,
who you are.
be in the moment, be a good human, no matter where you are. You know, you could have the worst audition and feel terrible about it. Do not get your bag and storm out of the room. Don't be a diva ever. Just period. No, I don't care how good you are. Don't be a diva.
Yeah.
But
emotional intelligence is important.
Yeah, because like you just never know where and how that could come back.
And I hate to say it, there have been times that people have said like, hey, do you know this dancer? And I have said, I do. You should not. That's going to be a bad situation if you bring that dancer on because of things that I've seen in their past. And everyone can change. Sure. But sometimes, so you do really have to watch out for that.
You want your reputation to precede you
in a positive light.
Positive, good way, for sure.
Yeah.
And,
it's so sensical. Like it's not hard to understand that, but I think it's just.
But it's like people forget it.
They forget.
I think we get so focused on an audition is just about, am I the best dancer?
Sure.
And it's not about that at all. It's and I think that also takes the pressure off a little too. Like people aren't looking necessarily. You could be the best dancer in the room and not get the job because they might be looking for someone who's shorter than you, taller than you, a different gender than you. Like you don't know. And sometimes that's the hardest part is that, we take a rejection and think, oh, it just means
It's
I'm not
me.
I'm not good
terrible.
enough.
Yeah, it's like,
And
no,
that's
it's just
it.
not the position that was open at the time.
Yeah. But again, just remembering that like you don't know walking into that situation everything that is going on the other side. And so, just present the best you as a whole unit, person, dancer, whatever, and just learn what you can from it.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we have dropped a lot of gems in this. A lot of things for people to pick up and take and run with and things. So thanks, Karen, for spending the time talking to me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.